Hello everyone, welcome to our presentation. Today we are going to talk about our paper, which is about understanding user trust in different recommenders and smartphone apps. And we are from University of Purdue. So knowing users' trust in different recommender groups and different types of apps has a lot of motivations. So in recent years, we have seen improved capabilities in terms of power and computing in smartphones. And thereby, the major app stores like Google Play or Amazon Store or iPhone stores all are now flooded with more than 3.48 million apps. And of course, these apps are serving various ways. For example, discovering places of interest, security and user authentication, assessing respiratory diseases and their stages, assessing health and well-being, call behavior assessment. These are just few among several others that we are getting from different types of services or the apps. So the smartphone application is expected to grow by 11.5% from 2020 to 2027 in terms of the compound annual growth rate, CAGR. However, not all these apps have really high adherence or long life cycle. And the reason behind that is many times these apps are not really developed in a user-centric approach where users have their way to express their trust in different recommenders and as well as different types of apps. So we are trying to understand what makes a user comfortable and willing to use an app. And that will probably contribute to improved adherence as well as utility and longer life cycle. So we conducted a human study and we collected data through an IRB approved study. We had in total 60 participants, and they vary with sex, marital status, age, education background, as well as app development experience. All these backgrounds are considered towards a user trust in different types of apps, as well as different recommended groups. So we are mainly focusing on two pointers. One is recommenders, another is the type of apps in terms of our goal to develop a user-centric app design process. So in our data distribution, we found most of our users are from 20 to 25 age range. And basically, these are the college students or university students who are mostly available around the study environment. But there was a really open study area, everyone can join. And that's why you see some people from the other spectrum, the range of ages. We also looked up their education background, and we found people with who passed their undergraduation as well as passed their senior high school are the majority, around 50 and 30% of the total 60% population we consider here in this study. The people who passed only high school is relatively low in this study group. We also look up their app development experience because that are somehow also related to their feeling or their sort of willingness to different types of app. But in this study, we found most of our users have not have the advanced app development experience. So we'll look up how that factor can also lead to user trust in different recommenders and different types of apps. So we conducted a survey where we were primarily focusing on four major apps: health app, which we acronym as H, gaming app, acronym as G, then news app, acronym as N, and payment app, acronym as P. And we were asking our participants to rate their trust among the four major groups while considering each of the apps. So the four major groups are friends, family members. External recommenders is a broader term, but these are very specific to the type of app. So when we ask people to recommend or rate their trust for healthcare app, we provide them physicians or healthcare providers in terms of external recommenders. When we ask for news channel, we provide the news channels are provided for the news apps. Similarly, advertisements are considered as an external recommenders when talking about payment or gaming apps. And there are another category where basically no recommendations, users just do it by themselves. In our rating, we have a 1 to 5 scale where 1 is least trusted and 5 is most trusted. However, we group them like 1 and 2 as a low trust and 4 and 5 as a high trust, where 3 is kind of neutral or in between. And as I talked about before, like the external recommenders are very much a broader term we use for analysis, but when we presented the questionnaire to the participants, we had the exactly specific type of recommenders for apps. Like for different apps, they have different type of recommenders as an external recommender. And no recommendations, basically, there was no group, it's just an open thing. We found most of the high trust responses are coming from health apps and payments. Gaming and news apps really did not get enough high trust. So we are trying to then understand what makes participants to feel more trusted health apps or payment apps when there are a spectrum or 4 types of recommenders, means how the recommenders and their background can really affect a user trust or participants' trust towards these 2 major apps. So in this figure, we basically presented a stack bar to show how different recommenders have impact on different types of apps. We have 4 types of recommenders, as you see in the x-axis, and the bars within each category are acronymed by the, the type of app we are using. So from the friends recommendation, we found the major difference between the high trust and the low trust happen when it's a payment app. In a case of other app, the difference is not that huge. So we found the high trust is 80% more than the low trust responses when it comes from friend and the app is payment app. Similarly, we look up the family members, and it's again the payment apps that got around 160% higher high trust values than the low trust values. So that clearly shows that when it comes time for recommendation about payment apps, people really rely or put a lot of value on their friends and family members. So we also look up the external recommenders, and in case of health app, like the healthcare providers or caregivers are basically the external group, and we see 107% high trust compared to the low trust when it's an external recommendation. So it shows people put a lot of trust and value when a health app is being recommended by healthcare providers. Moving forward, we also look up the open cases, like there is no particular recommender group, and user can choose whatever recommendations they want to project. And we found that in such a case, like no recommendation, most of the rating are in the range of low trust category. So you can see health app, it's 27 and 11 is the total. Compared to the higher is only 10, 2 and 8. However, in the news app, you can also see 29 and 8 compared to 19, which is basically 3 and 16. So again, for the payment app, it's 13 plus 10, which is 41, is way more than 4 plus 7, which is 11. At the end, for the gaming app, we can see like 27 plus 8 is way higher than 3 plus 8 equal 11. So it clearly shows from this kind of projection that when a app is really not coming from any particular group, it's really open choice. People has really low trust of being using them, and that's directly going to affect the adherence, the user's adherence, as well as the app lifecycle or the utility of the app. So it's really important to recognize the proper recommender groups for different type of app that can really boost up user confidence and trust towards the app. And that can really lead to improved app user adherence and improved app lifecycle. So we also now look up into the significance test for user trust in two major apps, which is health apps we are first trying to look up, and where in case of the healthcare apps, we found healthcare providers at the external recommenders, where user put a lot of weight or a lot of trust. And from our analysis, we have found sex, age, education background, app development experience. All these are equally concerned or equally equal valued. What it means, basically, people with different age, educational background, app development has equal level of trust when it comes from a healthcare provider. And we're talking about high level of trust. For this analysis, we basically use the z-test for pairs of proportion test and chi-square test for more than two proportion test. And we basically failed to reject the null hypothesis in all cases except the marital status, where we found unmarried people has more trust towards the healthcare providers when they're recommending health apps compared to married people, which is an interesting finding. Moving forward, we also did the significant test for user trust in payment apps. And we found for payment apps, the two recommender groups, which is family and friends, that got really high trust from a user's rating. And in our analysis, we have found the proportion test using z-test and chi-square test found that we reject, we cannot reject, basically fail to reject the null hypothesis, where the null hypothesis is that different groups of people have equal trust towards these two recommender groups when it's a case of a payment app. By the way, for this analysis, we did one by one, means we first did the trust analysis or significant analysis using only family as a recommender, and the app is a payment app. And then we also did separately for friends, but the results are equally significant. And it shows that when it comes a time for using payment apps, people really put a lot of trust on family members or friends in terms of their trust to use or continue the apps or install the app. So these findings clearly shows two major points. Basically, when people use payment apps, they put a lot of value on the people they can trust, they know, basically their friends, family members. As you can see, they have really higher value in terms of high trust and low value in terms of low trust. Like you can see, 27% of the rating comes from high trust group versus 15%, 15 rating come from the low trust. So it's a 80% more high trust than the low trust values when friends are recommending apps and user put their trust towards or rate their trust towards their friends in case of recommendation for a payment app. Similarly, for family, we can see it's also a really significant factor when we are analyzing the trust of a user towards a payment app. For healthcare apps, we also found that there is a particular group where people put a lot of trust, and that's basically the healthcare providers, who are basically the external recommenders, but still it matters a lot. So that clearly shows that in terms of designing a user-centric app, it is really important to bring the right type of recommenders into the consideration, so they can also get involved in terms of finding the features, finding the properties, finding the lot of other details that can really make the user comfortable and willing to use an app, and that can directly impact adherence, users' adherence to the app, and can impact the utility along with the life cycle of the app. So these all things are really related, and we conclude here that in terms of making an app better or let the app have a really long life cycle, it depends on a user-centric app design, and in the design, the right type of recommender should be in that part of the process, so the users at the end feel comfortable to use the app, and that overall contributes to a really impactful app design. Thank you all. I'm pausing here, and if you have any questions, you can always bring it here, or you can always reach out to me. Our papers are already in there. Thank you all.